Hi friends, I'm back again, although I am recording this video in advance because right now, as you're watching this, I am in Sardinia guiding my Find Your Center retreat with my lovely participants. So I decided that I would make this video for you today and talk a little bit about what I'll be sharing with them this week. And so you get a little taste of a retreat that I would guide and a sense of what we talk about and how I build a theme throughout the week during a retreat experience, because my retreats are wellness and creativity oriented. So I bring in all kinds of different grounding practices. We do movement activities, we do art activities, journaling, meditation and breath work, and we also go out and experience the culture and heritage of the region that we stay in. So we're in the northeast of Sardinia, in the Gallura region. So I wanted to talk a little bit about finding your center, since it is the theme of this week's retreat. So when I wrote the theme and started the ideas of Find Your Center, I explored that concept quite a bit in my writing. And what I really want to have you take away from this are three things: the inner world, the outer world, and balancing the two. So when we talk about the inner world, one's inner world, what I mean by that is the innermost private self, the part of yourself that is sometimes subconscious, hopes and dreams and quiet ideas that one has that don't get shared. But it's also the self that observes and sees and notices things, and is the self that we access the best when we can get quiet and do activities like yoga and meditation and sometimes certain breath work. This can also come out in journaling, but I'll talk a little bit about intellectualizing in a minute because it's something that I deal with a lot. And it's, so journaling can fall into this category, but not necessarily. So one of the goals that I have for people is to get more in touch with their inner world, with their inner voice, with their, their gut instinct, with the part of themselves that might be trying to talk to them and they might not have been listening for a long time. Again, I know because I've done it. So it's very relevant for a lot of people because as Americans especially, I think we are prone to tending to walk around as brains detached from bodies, and that we often will be so focused on the outer world and the perceptions of the outer world that we forget about our inner world and our inner knowing and our deeper self. So when I am leading retreat participants and talking about the inner world this week, and we do these activities like yoga, meditation, breath work, stretching, movement, beautiful nature hikes, and things like that, and the immersive creativity sessions that I lead with my art and my painting, the goal is always to get present with yourself and to really quiet down and allow space. And this is honestly why I lead retreats in Italy and in other places. I've led a retreat in Bath. I'm planning one for Egypt. And I do this because sometimes it's easiest to get in touch with our most present selves when we're taken completely out of our normal routines and we're away from places and people that might need us. And because of that, we just kind of, you have no choice but to kind of be there and be experiencing whatever this is, okay? And so that's the adventure of it. So if we're trying to access the inner world and we're doing all of those activities, I then like to talk to people about what is meant by the outer world, and is that necessarily a bad thing? I think that, balance is really important. And so when we're talking about the outer world, the world outside of our own deeper selves, we're talking about everything from our families, our spouses and partners, to our environments where we live, to, like friends, family, our house and all the things we have to do, our apartments, and all of the different work that it takes, our jobs, everything that is in our involvements, like our community organizations, our nonprofits that we volunteer for, the different things that we are responsible for, and then everything from, out to the state, federal, international level, all the people that are out there that we think about, that we wonder about, that we read the news articles about, etc. I think that I don't have to tell all of you right now why imbalance with the outer world and the inner world can really be detrimental. Right now, I think many of us are very keenly aware that if you allow too much of the outer world into your inner consciousness, you will suffer. And that's especially true for many of us right now who are very sensitive to what's going on. And we're, watching everything with a lot of fear, caution, worry, anxiety. And if you allow that to dominate your consciousness, then you're gonna really not be well. And so it's really, I think that helps us for having clarity in terms of why is this balance between inner and outer world so important, right? Because it becomes pretty obvious. So then when we think about, the other thing I wanted to mention was intellectualizing. So intellectualizing is like when you kind of feel like you're a brain walking around without a body, or when you want to address something that's going on for yourself, you think about it, you analyze it, you don't try to feel through it, you don't try to get present with it or allow yourself to process the emotions that are attached to it. You just want to think it to death. And I'm not just talking about problems, but I'm talking about anything. If you're a highly analytical person and it may feel safer for you, especially if there's a trauma story in your past, it might feel safer for you to just think about it and be in your brain instead of being in your body and in your feelings about it. And so that's why sometimes journaling can be a way that we think we're doing our inner selves a favor, but in fact, we're just still intellectualizing everything. We're just thinking, analyzing, we're not actually feeling. And so for me, if I'm given the choice between meditating and journaling, I will always meditate, because if I need to be connected to my inner self, that's the way to presence. And it's possible for me to kind of skip over the feelings part and go right to the thinking and analyzing part if I'm journaling. So knowing yourself is really important. That's part of what I talk about at our retreats, because getting to understand, what are your tendencies and what's your pattern and what's your history. And so that you can understand yourself better and you can know what's going to work best for you to do the things that you're trying to accomplish. Okay. So when we're talking about balancing the inner world and the outer world, we're talking about bringing together all the different needs and demands that are upon us, right? But not losing ourselves. So what does your center feel like? When you found your center, what does it feel like, right? So you might have experienced this sometimes, maybe many times, hopefully for you, many times. A sense of satisfaction and peace, right? I have done what I needed to do, and now I am here for myself and with myself, and I feel good about what happened, and I feel like I did the best I could, and also I feel a great sense of satisfaction. That's a good sign. Your center is peace. Your center is satisfaction. Your center is that deep self-knowing. When you've really listened to yourself and you have this sense that you're there for yourself, that you are the one who's there for yourself and you can trust yourself, right? That is your center, right? That is the goal. That is the dream. And we do not always get there. But trying to find the balance between these two things really requires you to be there for yourself as much as you are there for everybody else. And you might have heard me preach on this message before, but I'm on a soapbox about it because it's a really big challenge for so many of us, especially those who are parents or caring for family members or have a very high responsibility or high stress job or work for ourselves, and we never stop. So, I think that it's really, really important for us to prioritize our own needs, and not just so that we can be there for others, but so that we can be whole, and we deserve to be whole. Last week I was talking about what do we deserve? And, we deserve that sense of worthiness, and we own it. We can just claim it, by virtue of being born as a person in this world. We have dignity, purpose, meaning, rights, and so if you go around in the world and put the needs of everyone else before yourself, you are cheating yourself. you know, and it's so hard because we're conditioned to give and give and give. And it's really interesting to me as like a big time feminist and a person who initially didn't think I was ever going to have kids, now experiencing the role of parent and the role of mom and seeing how easy it is to just sacrifice yourself until you're a freaking shell, you know, and then, you know, you're miserable, everyone around you is miserable, but you gave so much, you know, why is everyone miserable, right? It's like there is a bit of a conundrum in there. And I want to acknowledge that it's like, it's a reality for so many of us. But I think that it's super important to remember that finding your center is about that balance. And a lot of people say, oh, balance is, you know, it's impossible to achieve. It's like, can you achieve it all the time? No. Is it realistic to think that's possible? You know, I don't want you to set yourself up for failure. I want you to be okay with like good enough balance, right? To feel like there are times when you really put yourself first and you said, I need to be prioritizing myself right now. And then you go and do that. And yeah, it might require you to make arrangements. It might ask a little bit more of you at the front end and you're very tired already. I know. But you deserve this because you have given so much. And I think that it's okay to push back on these societal norms. And when we do, we give other women in our circles permission to do the same, right? And so it's our legacy to them, to our children, to the people that we influence in our world. And we deserve it, you know? So I want you to hopefully take from this that each of us has a center. We can find it if we listen, get really quiet, pay attention to the messages our body and our soul and our spirits are telling us. And if we really plug into those things, then we can balance it with the demands and needs of the outer world and we'll be at peace. So I wish for you some peace. I hope that you find this. I'd be love to hear back from you about your feedback on this. And if you're curious about other retreats that I am holding this year and in future, you can check me out at danasaylor.com. And if you're looking specifically at retreats, danasaylor.com/retreats. Talk to you next time. I'm going to take a little 2-week break while I'm on holiday with my family. See you next time, guys.